Welcome to the Women Leaders Association podcast, where we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. Be sure to tune in each week to hear an empowering message from the world's top women executives, trailblazers, entrepreneurs, and all-around fierce female leaders. I'm your host, Julianne Kirkland, and I will be taking you on a deep dive of each message to equip you with the principles, strategies, and tools you need to start crushing your goals, increasing your impact, creating work-life harmony, and did I mention have more fun? Because when you love what you do it better. The Women Leaders Association is the world's largest women executives association with over 30,000 women in executive and leadership positions who are committed to the development and advancement of women in the corporate arena. If you would like to get involved in a Women Leaders Association chapter, would enjoy daily podcasts, or you desire to become a part of the Women's Mastermind group near you, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com. Now let's tune in for this incredible message. I'm so excited to welcome Trisha Fraley. Trisha is an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, a mentor, and the founder of Made to Walk Through Fire. Trisha, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so always happy to talk to you.
Oh, so excited you're here. So Trisha and I got connected last year. She spoke at one of my events, and she is the embodiment of a fierce female leader. And so when I was like, you know what, we're going to start interviewing guests as well, she was top of the list to bring on because she adds so much value and just is able to take whatever you're going through in life, because we all go through some ish, and really help reframe and give you new perspectives and the tools to get through it and come out of that fire. So Trisha, welcome. What you got for us?
Oh my gosh. Okay, can you introduce me like every day? Can I like record that and play it over and over again? That was incredible. No, I'm so happy to be here. And just like you said, we all go through some ish and we don't ever consider ourselves leaders, but in fact, we actually all have the skill set to do so. So I'm really happy to start this conversation and see where it goes, because this is definitely a passion of mine.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, what is your take on, because what I'm discovering as we've started this podcast is so many women in these leadership roles, like, right, they have the titles. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm like on this mission to like, let's stop labeling everybody, because it really matters zero.
100%.
What your title is, because we are all have the ability to lead, because it's about influence, right? That's what leadership is. And so what do you think from your experience has been the main factor of why women kind of shy away from leaning into that leadership, leaning into the amount of influence that they have? What's your experience with that?
I honestly, most of the women that I work with, they feel like their story's not good enough, that they are not good enough, that like, oh, well, mine is not as good as them, or that they need more experience or more something. And so we, especially as women, we create this pedestal that leaders stand on, like, oh, she could do it, but I can't. And so it all comes down to the story that we're telling ourselves, and not realizing that leadership is often this servant attitude that we have towards like, I've been through it and I'm willing to help you walk through it too. And then leaders that you see on stage are just in a bigger scale, but really all they're doing is saying, I've been there and I want to help you along too. And I think women most of the time miss it. I talked to them even this week. They're like, I could never, what would they think of me? And I could never do something like you could. And I'm like, what makes us different? And it's the belief about ourselves. And I think once we get past, especially as women, the belief about ourselves, then we can step into maybe, oh, I could help you or help you. And that's all leadership is just a scale of how many people we can walk alongside on their journey.
Yeah, I think that's so true, because we live out what we believe.
Yeah.
Period. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I love that you work with women and men or whoever, right, to really identify what is that story that they've been believing for so long about themselves. Like, why do you feel that you don't have influence? Why do you feel that you're not worthy enough? I just air quoted, you know, for this.
Video.
Right. Well, and it will be on video, but for those that are just listening, I just air quoted. But it's like, why, you know, and you help them understand the story, because so often it just happens subconsciously. You know, they have that phrase of, well, it is what it is. And that phrase is Totally to my nerves.
Don't, my husband says it all the time. I say, please do not say that. I refuse to accept what it is.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, I can't. It's honestly, and you know this personally, I work a lot with the fire part of this story. So we take the fires, the hardships, the things that we've endured and turn it into the passion that fuels us, because more often than not, most people find shame in the things they've gone through. The infertility struggles, the divorces, the debt experiences. Me, it was deployments and the death of a brother with a drug overdose. It became this thing that was like, we're afraid to talk about it. And so if we can embrace those things and actually go, dang, look what I've done, it actually changes the way that we look at ourselves and say, dang, I've done this. So that when we see somebody and it's funny how life works. You get put in places of, oh, you went through that too. Then all of a sudden you can look at them because you're proud of your story and you can say, this is how I've overcome. And then now you're in a leadership role. And all we do is scale that over and over again. And I think it's like you said, the stories come from the things that we've endured, the ways that we were raised, we're all these environmental factors. And if we can sift through to find what is truth and what is the actual truth, like, dang, everybody goes through some terrible, fiery parts of life. And if we can embrace that part, then we realize, okay, we've owned it. Then as we walk through life, the leadership opportunities almost like fall in your lap, because then you can lead others, lead yourself through these situations again, and not give up in those hard times.
And I think too, when, especially to women, that are out in the workforce, right? Mm-hmm. And they think, if I can just get here, if I could just be on this stage, if I could just have this title, right? They're going after these things that they think are mm-hmm. going to be what is going to help give them identity, is going to help define them, that's going to help give them worth. When the truth is, you can gain those things and nothing changes if nothing changes in your way to becoming who that person is.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, and it's this identity. It's like this, we forget that it's that state of being. It's like who you are in any area, like me, as in my whole identity is like, whether I'm on stage or talking to you here or as a mother, I show up as that because it is what's in me. And I've realized as I began to do that work, looking back in my life, I'm like, that's who I've been all along. So it's not the stage. It's not the military wife. It's not any of those things, because remove them all. Trisha is Trisha. And so once we can realize that is who we are and what we bring to the table, then we realize we bring it to any vocation, any job, any stage, anywhere. And then we lead with that. And maybe our leadership is within our own home, and it doesn't feel big, but it's monumental. And sometimes leadership is down the road by having this conversation with a person at the grocery store that went through something that you went to lead others through their journeys as well, is really kind of what it comes down to. And all people do is scale. And some people are great. They want to be on stage and they speak to millions, and that seems really cool and significant, but it doesn't take away what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And this is where it starts, is being comfortable in who you are, no matter what vocation you're in.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things that we do at Women Leaders Association that we've just started this year is creating masterminds. Not like, how there's masterminds out there that are like labeled masterminds, but they're really like hierarchy group coaching programs. You know what I mean? But this is like true masterminds where like they all have a say in what's going on. And so often as I'm doing these calls with these women, when they're in the process of deciding if it's right for them to join, right? Mm-hmm. And they have this moment where they're like, I don't have anything to offer, mm-hmm. and it's like that story that they've been playing in your head. And I know that you've been involved in masterminds and you've worked with people and you're a mentor yourself. Like what is your approach to that woman?
Okay, you're going to have to repeat the part that you said this woman said, because then you cut out and I was like, what did she say? I was like, you want my approach? I missed the one sentence that you said. And I'm like, we can blame the internet. Sorry, thank you, interwebs, for all of the things. But so just the part that the woman said again, because I got the rest.
Gosh, now I got to remember what it was. So if they come to you and they're like, what? I don't have anything to give. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this group sounds great. And all these people are going to be able to contribute, but what do I have to contribute?
Sometimes it's just showing up. A lot of times we might not know. Okay. Like, and I have a friend who she has a wonderful gift of hospitality. She makes people feel welcome. She didn't know that until she just started showing up and being herself. She's like, I'm just going to come. And then it was like, hey, I can bring the cookies. And she started doing this, and somebody told her, you have such a gift of hospitality. And she came to me and was like, oh my gosh, this is actually what I can offer people. I did not realize it was a thing. So a lot of times you might not know it, but I would say, ask the people around you, what are you good at? Like, what am I good at? More often than not, my friends will always ask me to be the person in a room. Like if they're going into a strange room, they're like, will you come with me? Cause you're not afraid to talk to people. And it's true. And I used to be made fun of for that growing up, but it turns out it's my gift. The one that can walk into a room and just make some strange friends. But a lot of times we don't know that until we just show up. Ask the people that love you the most. Like, what am I good at? Would you say are some of my greatest strengths? You'll see a theme. And then when you go up, notice the things that make you come alive. Like, I'll be the person that brings cookies. Thanks. Like maybe that's your gift. And we think that leadership is the person on stage, and that's not the case. That is not the case. Like we have a friend I'm speaking at an event this week where she just arranges the people to come in. She brings the group together, and that is a powerful leadership role because she might not be the person speaking, but she's organizing events so that other women can gain from her. And I just think that's such a gift as well. And we miss it when we think it's one thing, and we lead others. Like I said, we lead ourselves and lead others on a journey, no matter how big or small. So ask your friends and find what makes you come alive and start taking notes, because you'll see a theme. I guarantee it.
No, it's so true. And I think we get wrapped up in like having to prove ourselves.
Oh gosh.
And like your friend, like she was just like, okay, well, I can bring the cookies.
Yeah.
And she just showed up, like you're saying. And that is so much of where our power comes from, is leaning into showing up.
Well, I think I went to a networking event where all these women entrepreneurs are together, and there was one there, and we all introduced ourselves, what we did. And she's like, well, I just quit teaching. I have nothing that I'm doing entrepreneur wise. I just want to be here. And she's like, I don't know what I want to do, but it's something different. And it was amazing how that, and just showing up and admitting where she was, gave other women courage to go, oh my gosh, it's okay to be uncertain. And that's leadership. She led with her uncertainty. And we think that's crazy, but the courage to step out allows others to follow you. And so sometimes just showing up is the very thing you need to push you into that leadership role, because then others go, if she can, then I can. And so that kind of creates it. And sometimes we don't know what's right. We have no idea what we have to offer, but we're going to show up, and we don't realize that that's putting us in a place of influence and leadership and just in a different way than we expected.
Oh, that's so true. What do you think has been, besides the story that we tell ourselves, what do you think in your specifically helping people walk through the hardest times in their life and continue to show up? Like, what has been, I know you have a whole plethora of tools that you help them with, but like, what has been the main go-to? Like, if you could just do this one thing, start here.
So when I and you know this about me, I teach a framework. It's a fire framework to walk through fire, and to walk through the hardest seasons. What I've noticed, the hardest thing. So the fire stands for face it, internalize it, redirect it, and energize it. The hardest things for women to do, I've noticed, is the face it and internalize piece. If we cannot face the thing that we're afraid of, the shame that we're carrying, the thing that we're avoiding, if we can't face it and decide what it means in our life, that it's going to mean this is a stepping stone, this is a stepping block, or this is going to stop me. If those things can't be wrestled with, then we stop. But the minute that a woman says, this is what I've done, this is what I've endured, this is where I am currently, and can say that without shame, and then say, it does not mean that I'm less than or I'm nothing. It means that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I can move forward. Once they go through that piece, then all of a sudden the possibilities open up. All of a sudden, it doesn't matter if this is working for my favor and this hardship, these really hard seasons are just a stepping stone, or this is going to, launch me into the next phase. Once that shifts, everything changes. But you have to come to terms with where you're at, what you're facing, the things that you're carrying that you really don't need to, that shame, the guilt, I should be here by now, but I'm not kind of attitudes, or I'm not old enough, or I don't know. We come to terms with that. And then we say, well, what does that mean? Like, what does it actually mean that you're going through that? And create this meaning that doesn't mean anything. Or man, maybe it means I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And now I have the wisdom and knowledge to step out. Then all of a sudden, it's like your brain starts working. And so these women go, well, then I could do this and then I could do that. But we have to get over that hump. And so honestly, out of everything I do, it's that piece is the stepping point, because we all, if you try to move forward to like creating something new and stepping out and you haven't dealt with that stuff yet, it's going to come to the surface, and then you're going to do it in front of a large group of people and be like, by the way, I realized I've been carrying this all along and I shouldn't have. And so it's just such a key point that we just wrestle with it. And I encourage them to talk it out, to say it, to record it if they need to write it all down, all the things they're feeling. And then once they come to terms with it, it's freedom. They go, I could create anything. I could lead anybody. I could do anything in the whole world. Let's climb Everest tomorrow. And so the possibilities just become endless once that's dealt with.
That's so good. I'm working on, I'm going to be doing a TED Talk this year. And
Okay.
But one of the things that is like a main point is that we feel like we have to make sense of our pain, of our hardship, like we have to make it make sense. Mm-hmm. And, I talk about one of the hardest times for me was when the quads were going through their punami phase. Like they were poop artists. They painted with their poop, Trisha, and it was awful. It was awful. And it's I understand in the grand scheme of life and wars and all of that, like it's not so traumatic, but it was to me at that moment in my life. And I was like, this is what's going to end me. It's poo art. It's going to end me. You know what I mean?
So
but
good.
It's like true. Coming to terms with, it doesn't have to make sense to everybody else. No. That's the thing that was like really getting at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just allowing myself that freedom to be like, this sucks for me.
Yeah. It sucks for me. It doesn't have to suck for anybody else. Well, and it's true, because it's a matter of perspective, because that's hilarious to me. But I'll tell you right now, there's only so many days before you're like, I'm done, I'm finished. And there's been so many times like that in the midst of a deployment where it was something so tiny that just was like, this will break me today. And sometimes it was really dramatic, sometimes really gut-wrenching news and trauma that was actually gone through. And honestly, coming to terms with it isn't always going to make sense is the greatest thing you can do, and stop looking for a reason, because you might not ever know the reason. And if you can create that freedom for yourself, they're like, okay, I'm not really sure what I'm learning in this poop lesson, but we're going to move past it. If we can release that, trying to figure it out, and why me, why did this happen to me? Then you can move forward. And I think a lot of people get stuck on it. I did for months, for a little while, after my brother passed, and I was like, why? I just don't understand. Then I got to a point that I might not understand, and that's okay. So what can I do with the information I've been given? And that's what I can control. And so I think that's such a powerful statement. Like, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody or anybody else. And you just have to be able to get past whatever poop mountain you have to face, literally and figuratively.
Whatever issue thing.
Whatever issue thing you have.
Situation may be.
Yep.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. So Trisha, as we round out this talk, what is the biggest piece of advice that you have for either the, a rising entrepreneur or the CEO who's miserable in her office and trying to figure out how to best lead her team and, just feels like it's all hard?
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you have for her today?
Oh, if you don't have a vision, you need to get one. You need to go wherever you go and sit. I want you to look at your team, look at your life, look at whatever's the next thing. I want you to think what makes you come alive, and you see past the ish and past it, because a lot of times the steps in the process are not what you thought. But what is the quote? Is it maybe Tony Robbins? Stay committed to the decision, but flexible in the approach. It was one of my moments when I see the end goal. I see where we're going. If you can close your eyes and hold on to that, then all of this is just a stepping stone. If you can hold on, and in moments when you don't know where you're headed, well, then that creates chaos. So come back to where's the end goal? Where are you trying to get to? And then just work backwards at this point. Because sometimes if you can't stay to a vision, it's really hard to keep moving forward. When my marriage was going on, whenever the deployments was difficult, when the depths of when my business was nothing launching was working. And it was like, I don't understand. I'm meant to change the world and nothing was working.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. What's the vision? What is the end vision? And it's about people. It's about impact. And when I came back to that, I realized there was a lot of people I was influencing, not in the ways that I thought. And then at that point, maybe I was going along the journey I was supposed to be on anyway. And so if you can just stick to the vision, what is your vision, the goals, who you're helping, what you're doing, where do you see yourself, all of those things, then this is now just a little blip in the steps and you just keep on moving forward. So if you don't have a strong vision, get one quickly and then just keep moving forward.
So good. And be like you said, like be willing to embrace, not let go of the vision that you have, but embrace the pathway to get there, that it could be different than what you thought, and just be open to take in new things. And that's so powerful. And I love how you also said, get to where you can get quiet, like get to your happy place, wherever that is. So important, because we do get wrapped up in the, the day to day, and I got to do this and I got to accomplish this and I got to be here and I got to be in this meeting and I got to do this. And it's like, but do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. That being able to rest or sit, I'm really challenged because I feel like it's unproductive, when in fact that's sometimes the most productive part of my day, because I reset and go back to what I was doing, not burned out and frustrated and overwhelmed, like these people are relying on me and all of this. When I come back to the truth and the vision and what we're working towards, I show up differently in the next 15 minutes. I mean, it could just be a few minutes, but it's worth its weight in gold.
That's so good. Trisha, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, everybody, remember, if you are looking for more, feel free to visit womenleadersassociationpodcast.com, and you can figure out how to join our masterminds, our networking community, or find a chapter near you. Bye for now, my friends.